Hi everybody, welcome back. We're going to keep on going. Where we last left off is we put in these two queries. Both of them, if you remember, are using CSV files. And I have my module. This was from the files on Moodle that have those files in them. And the two CSV ones, these two right here, are the queries that are being run. So if you remember, we transformed this file, the 2-year revenue, which had like 24,000 lines. We did a little bit of pre-processing. It's only querying the totals, which we get by month, right? So we collapsed all the different months into the end of the month, and all this data is pre-processed before it's brought into Excel, reducing the load on memory. And you'll notice that this is a 1.1 megabyte file that it's pulling from. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through creating a few charts, and we're also going to add a forecast sheet. And then we're going to talk a little bit about forecasting, and then we're going to get back to our main topic of discussion, which is the power tools and the data model in our next video. So this way, we can divide them up into small enough pieces so it'll be easy to watch and get through. Okay, so in this one, we're going to click on recent revenue history. We're going to go back here. You'll remember we have the year, the business year, and the revenue. And I'm going to select B3 to B26. So that's going to be here, and we'll go all the way down to the bottom like this. And then we'll go to Insert, and we're going to pick Scatter Plot. Right? Let's take a look at what else we have. So we'll go to Scatter XY. We have our scatter plot, revenue. So let's go with scatter. Okay. All right, so we'll pick this, and we'll just move this onto the side over here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add an axis title, so annual revenue in millions, and we're going to put business year. Okay, so to do that, I just click on the chart, I press plus, and we're going to go to where it says axis titles. Right? So we have our primary horizontal and our primary vertical. So for the vertical, I'm going to say annual revenue in millions of dollars. There we go. And this down here is going to be our business year. And then up here, we're going to change this to trends in revenue. There we go. Okay, so what this is showing us is that for each year in the business, this is how much money we made. So it's pulling from here and it's pulling from there to create the chart. Okay, so now we're going to go back to chart elements and we're going to add a trend line, right? So this is going to show us the trend. And this is where we could see how that trend is doing over time, right? It's the average between all the different dots. So then if we go into trend line, we could have a whole bunch of different options, like we can go exponential, data values that rise or fall at increasingly higher rates, linear, we could look at straight line trends, logarithmic, trends that increase or decrease quickly and then level out. We could look at a moving average that smooths data by charting the average of consecutive data points, polynomial, the trends fluctuate between peaks and valleys, or power calculation, that they increase or decrease by a constant multiple. So let's go to chart elements. We'll hit trend line, and we're going to press this arrow over here, and whoops, trend line. And we're going to go down to the bottom where it says more options. Okay, so that's going to open this here on the side, and we're going to pick logarithmic, and we're going to go down, and we're going to say forecast options. We're going to type 2 into the forward box. That's going to give us 2 periods going forward for each one. right? Okay, so now let's minimize this. And we could bring this out a little bit. Okay, so what we're looking at now is this was our original line, and this is our logarithm calculation that we see here in the smaller line that happens inside, right? The trend line follows the general growth of the company's revenue better than the linear trend does. Based on this analysis, we could say that the annual revenue will remain above 12 million each year for the next 2 years, right? So we have data that's going to the 23rd year. You'll see that this line will carry forward into the 25th line, and it's basically going to give us the increase over, the trend over these years, even though we have some points that are higher than the line, right? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is going to create a forecast sheet, right? And that's going to go along with our trends in revenue. So let's go to recent revenue sheet, and we're going to grab this whole series like this, right? We'll pick everything. We'll go all the way down. Okay, so then what we're going to do is, we want from the very top. There we go. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go to data, and then we're going to go to forecast sheet, and we're going to take a look at the forecast. Now I know that many people have already done this, right? We're going to go through some of the options. So this is a line charting what's already happened. Here we have those collapsed dates, the end of the month, which is encapsulated that entire month. And this is the amount of money, right? So these are our observed values. These are the ones that we already know about. And then these ones in the future that are a different color are our projected values. Could look at it like this, which is going to give us observed values that we already have, and our projected values with the level of confidence that we have, right? Our upper and lower confidence bands. And by these whiskers over here, they're going to show us what that difference is. We could see the same thing here where the mid projection is the dark line and the upper and lower are, now you'll notice that there's a very, very big distance in the confidence, right? So it's possible we might lose money. It's possible we might make money. We know that after this big rise over here, there was a big drop. We know that we have a big rise over here, so that might mean that there's a big drop here, right? Or we could continue doing well, or we could level off. We're not 100% sure, right? There's a lot of different possibilities. So based on the past data, and of course this gets better the more past data we have, the more we're able to make more accurate predictions, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to change this trend to make it a little tighter. We'll open up options and we're going to see what we can do to make it a little better. So the first thing we're going to do is under seasonality, we're going to go to where it says set manually, and we're going to pick how long and how many periods, and keep in mind that these periods are months, does it change. So we're going to put in 12. Now you'll notice right away, as soon as we do that, meaning every 12 months there's a seasonal shift, take a look at what happens. The confidence bands get so much closer together. Now if we go detect automatically, it's giving us these huge ones. If we go to set manually and we put in 12, it's going to be much closer together. Why? Because let's look at the months. This is 11/12, so our biggest month is December, right? Now here we have 11/12 for the month. Okay, so you'll notice that this dip mirrors this dip. Now, for example, let's say we sold Christmas trees. Our business would increase throughout the year and get really crazy in December, and then in January crash because nobody wants those products, right? Same thing happens here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is let's take a look at when the forecast ends. So right now we have it from January, so it ends in December, and then we project out until 07, right? So basically we're going until July. Let's see if we can get that to go out until December, right? So let's bring it out until the last day of December. Now, basically, if you look at this, we have year number 1, right? This is 2016. Then this is 2017, right? This is the first pattern. This is the second pattern. And then extrapolating between this, we're making the third pattern for year number 3. Now you'll notice that when the year number 3 ends, we go back into this steep uptick, right? Which mirrors this one and mirrors this one. It shows you the same piece that goes together. Okay, the next thing we have to consider is our data starts in 2016. we're starting our forecast in 2017 because that's where our data goes up to, right? Our last date that we have is December 31st of 2017. So that's where this is coming from. But now we project to 2018. Now, if we put this longer, so let's try 2020, right? We'll see what happens then. So the computer's going to think about it for a bit, and I may just have crashed Excel. So I'll pause it for a second. We'll see what happens. Okay, so my computer actually did crash, and I restarted it with the data, and I just put in 2020. So this is what I got so far. Now, in order to get to what we just had, I'm going to have to go back and set seasonality to a 12-month cycle. Now, what you'll notice is that I have these 2 years. This is 2016 and this is 2017, and we could, reliably predict 2018 following a similar pattern. But you'll notice that the confidence interval gets bigger and bigger as we move forward, because we're less likely sure that these 2 years can accurately predict the following 3 years. And of course, the more data we have in the past, the better we could predict what's going to happen in the future, even though they may not be related to one another, right? Also, we should point out that we have the confidence interval set to 95%. The more sure we have to be, the more difficult the numbers are going to be, right? Like, the higher it is, the more likely that we're not going to be sure of what happens farther into the future. Okay, so we'll switch it back to 2018 and we'll hit create. Okay, so then we get this page over here, the forecast sheet, and we'll have the dialog box which tells you the forecasting. We'll press OK. So basically, it's the same sheet that we have in recent revenue. So it's this information until December 2017, right? And then we start predicting, whoops, let's move that back here. Let's click up there. There we go. So then we're going to start predicting. We know that this is year 1 and year 2, and then for year 3, we're predicting a similar pattern. Again, rising, falling in January and rising up towards the end of the year. And these are the numbers that support our 3 scenarios, right? So this is our forecast, our lower confidence band, and our upper confidence band. And those are the 3 lines that we see here, right? You'll notice that at some points of the year, we're more confident, right? So they're closer together. At other points, they're farther apart because we're less confident. Is it going to model this trend, or is it going to model these, or a combination of both? And if you think about it, if you overlay this year with this year, we'll probably get something that looks like this, right? Which is basically what's happening. So it's interesting when you play around with revenue forecasting and you see how much we have and how much we could project the monthly revenue. By changing the confidence interval, by changing the projection, we can come up with some very different types of scenarios. Next, we're going to take a look at Power Pivot. So that's going to be in our 3rd video of this series.